Chilly here with Sirius Dallas Moon, and the moon is ingressed into Capricorn, squaring Neptune and Saturn, and in conjuncting Uranus. It is Mars hour, Mars day. Mars is in Libra, and Venus is in Leo. Mercury rules both ascendant and midheaven and is about to ingress into Virgo. So, actually, 2 nights ago, I received a picture of an orange cat. It was a picture of an orange cat lying looking at me, and it was not an orange cat that I knew. I tried to go over the cats that I know, cats that I had, and I saw nothing. And I also seen that there was a spraying of chemicals um, declassified on one of the villages or cities that were considered projects, and that was radioactive chemicals. I go on about my life, and today I wake up and I see waffles that looked like that orange cat that I was shown had an asthma attack. So they took him to the vet. So Waffles is one of the cat channels on YouTube. That's Waffles that always gets annoyed with things. The things that annoyed Waffles channel. Um, and what vets usually are going to say, and this is where it's important, what vets are usually going to say is, hey, make sure your house is clean, mop the floors, um, vacuum the air, vacuum, the dirt and the dust. Like, it's not unreasonable, and in all good conditions, that's normal. Like, that's a good advice from the vets. But um, because we're talking age of air, we're talking Pluto in Aquarius, we're talking Uranus in Gemini, and we're talking spraying chemicals. This is for people who have pets. If your pet begins to sneeze funnily, begins to scratch itself, the pets are way more sensitive than human beings because they need less dosage of something to have an effect. And just like if your pet suddenly starts sitting, starts ducking underneath. For our cats, it won't. They always ducking underneath something, but um, if it unusually ducks underneath something, or it usually is used to sit upstairs and observe, because cats like to observe, and it ducks underneath, or your dog ducks underneath, you know that there might be an earthquake, unless some scary neighbor knocks on your door, which is no less disturbing. And so and so you want to what you want to do if you have is first of all check in with the neighbors. If your cat starts sneezing funny, if your dog starts sneezing funny, check in with the neighbors, check in with more people. Now, again, if you need to clean your house, you need to clean your house. But if you already clean your house, and everybody has an iRobot nowadays, I don't, but everybody has, um, then check in with your neighbors, particularly those that have pets. If there are more cats, more dogs, more, I don't know, iguanas that experience that. And in case that happens, you're gonna need to have the air run through a test. So you're gonna have to watch the sky and take several samples of the air. And you're gonna need to run it through a lab. And you're gonna need to run it through a lab um, that's independent, which is going to be challenging. and you're gonna have to collect information and file the class lawsuit before it gets worse, before pets die, before humans die. Um, Uranus is gas, Gemini cities. And um, and that's something that is just going to affect people for the time being, and is going to cause revolutions. Because if people can't trust the air that they breathe, and they would, you know, usually people follow the money. Now people were going to follow the oxygen, and those who try to suffocate people will not breathe too much oxygen. Is what I'm saying. It's Uranus Gemini. It's Uranus Gemini. Um, and all these attempts to monetize air, to monetize water, are basically to ruin the natural resources and then monetize them on a grand scale. They're being made possible because it was made possible for indigenous societies and for the project. Um, but now that it's done worldwide, is an opportunity of people to do something about that. Okay, now normal family that would not hear about it on the news because it's classified. What would happen is that, let's say, people would live in the projects, they would believe that in the finer neighborhoods this is not happening. Um, it might be happening with more dilution, and this is how you can feel it through the pets. And there might be other things happening that the projects don't see, um, and that's why, yes, they believe. For example, when I went from one neighborhood to another, people would no longer. There was one thing I didn't have to deal with, okay, and it was really nice. But then there was another thing that I had to deal with, and I didn't know because it was more invisible. So this is where this is how they created the vision, because people think, oh, the people that live over there, they don't have this problem, but they don't know what the problems that the people who live over there have. And the people who live over there might think, yeah, we really are living in a better place, and yes, it's more expensive, but what they don't know is those invisible things. And that is something. For example, the place that I rent from that was trafficky, um, was a mansion, fantastic neighborhood, in a place where the air was supposed to be clear, but that was not the fault of the particular house. And then there were weird noises outside the neighboring mansion. Okay, there was weird anomalies in the sound waves outside the neighboring mansion. And when you have that, it's already not a place to grow kids. Um, and everybody would leave the unit. I did not know about it, so I saged the place, I saged the place, I saged the place, only to find out that they were using astral projection to do dumb fuckery to the tenants. Then the tenants gets the fuck away, and they try to claim that somebody is in debt. No, they're not. If you're a trafficker, if you work with Epstein, no, they're not. Let Palantir see what happened. Let Palantir film the house. Who came in with the gloves? It's not going to be pretty. So that's something that's just happening right now. Um, and it's going to be affecting your pets probably before it's going to be affecting people. Again, the people that do that will not breathe too much oxygen. Um, they will not be able to fund for that, and it's a cult of treason. So even if they will pay, they will not be. They will not be. Okay, that's basically how it works, and this is basically how it gets annihilated as well, because there's the Civil War clock is also in the CIA. As a part of the places that are doing these human experiments, are doing these projects. So there is actually a war between the CIA and itself. Now let's take a look, because I didn't look at chart of Mossad because I didn't find it, but let's take a look at foundation of Mossad, and we may see what's happening. I don't know. Okay. Yeah. This is, by the way, the website of the Mossad. Seeing the invisible and doing the impossible. Yep. And we are going to go to, okay, above 7 decades. Do not have. Am I going to have to go to Wikipedia? Transparency, age of air. What you see, everybody will see. And what you do, everybody will see. That's the age of air. So this is the Mossad. Again, we have establishment date 13 December 1949 and 8 February 1951. Both of them matter, so we're going to look at both. For the first one, 1949, I want to see if Uranus is still in Gemini, because I think it is. 13 December. Now everybody's talking, blaming. People blame CIA stuff on the Mossad. Now some of it is the Mossad, some of it is not. And December 1949. And the charts can show us a little bit of what is and what isn't. We don't have, yes, probably gonna give it Tel Aviv. When I did small apprenticeship at the Israeli Palestinian Chamber of Commerce, the ex-head, I don't know if it was ISIS or Mossad, was a manager there, the manager of the Chamber of Commerce. Okay, so this is the chart. Uranus is already in Cancer for this chart. 13 December. Yes, did I have to? 13 December 1949. So for this chart, Uranus is already in Cancer, which means that the square comes from Libra, the opposition from Capricorn, Aries, Uranus ingress, and Aries. So the Me Too, for example, was the aftermath of the Uranus square. Pluto 18 degree Leo. It's toxic degree, it's toxic power. Again, they need to change chart. Toxic power. That's why people don't like the Mossad. Sun in Sagittarius. Nobody wants to work for them because they use power in a toxic way. 18 degrees toxins, and toxins to the heart, to the personality. Psychological is psyops. Sun is toxic ideas of freedom. You see, the heart always has to be able to be open. Heart chakra always has to be aligned, because otherwise we don't see clear. All the chakras have to be aligned. The Sun is trining Pluto. Moon, Sadhasati for a chart. Moon Saturn. Why Moon is around Saturn? Saturn Mars. Saturn Mars conjunction, yes, because they need precision, but again it squares the Sun. And in Virgo, you see here, with the CIA, we had Mars in Gemini. That's just over nothing. With the Virgo, is people that know what they're doing. So these people can definitely be held even more accountable than the CIA for their actions. And I have to admit the truth, because Mars Gemini doesn't know what they're doing too much. Mars in Virgo knows what they're doing. So Mars conjoining Saturn. Okay, we don't have an ascendant in Virgo. Mercury Capricorn. Okay, so there is precision. This is actually not terrible for an intelligence. The problem is where Pluto is. Pluto is about the degree of toxins. And so these guys are doing toxic things, and they know that. That's toxic things, particularly to the heart, to the personality, to the image. I don't know if they are linked to the Hasbara thingy, to leaders, toxic power. Neptune, Ketu, Rahu ruled by Mars. Mars is closer to Ketu. Neptune Ketu is purging being an intelligence or mafia operation. Purging being a secret society operation, and indeed they try to recruit people outside the secret societies. Chiron Sagittarius, the wound around freedom and beliefs. Jupiter and Venus in Aquarius. Lilith 26 degrees Aries. Again, Lilith is about sexual sovereignty. But if they harm heart rate, heart and lungs, to harm somebody's freedom, and this is where if sexual sovereignty is hurt, the Mossad will be exposed, and the Mossad will have failed operations. And I can tell you sexual sovereignty is violated. So this is very bad for the Mossad, because their entire intelligence is reliant on the ability, okay, Rahu, Aries, entire intelligence relies on the ability of the agents to be sexually sovereign and to maintain sexual sovereignty. Doesn't work with all. But then if they did exactly the opposite, what happens? These guys know what they're doing toxic things, can be fully held accountable. Do they have fragmentation to the personality? Can be without Pluto. So they would have, if they escape, they have defense of diplomatic immunity for running away from basically a personality cult. Okay, Leo Pluto 18 degrees personality cult. Okay, so they were doing again, this is from 1949. We are in 2025. We had the feminist revolution. We had the Me Too revolution. We had the Black Panthers revolution in Israel. We had okay, it was at the aftermath of an age of civil war, but we had so many things since then that back then it was considered advanced. Today we need another chart that is up to speed with the requirements for intelligence in this day and age, both in terms of technology, okay, but also in terms of sexual sovereignty. You can't have correct information psychically with fragmented psyche. You can't. For example, if somebody, this is the gloved hand, okay? If somebody, let's say, somebody tomorrow assassins Trump, okay? They arrest the person who assassinated Trump. Who moved the person that assassinated Trump by mind control? Until they don't get that person, somebody, let's say Trump was with Epstein, okay? Let's say tomorrow they decide to decapitate Trump because he raped girls in Epstein, allegedly. Who, why go that far? Epstein, okay? Who programmed Epstein? Who did the mind control on Epstein? Underneath gloved hands. If we don't have this person, we annihilated Epstein. We basically annihilated the face mask rather than the offender. Not because Epstein is not offender, but because he was mind controlled. Now Epstein himself, if he escapes from that place, has defense of satanic ritual abuse survivor. And testimonies like Alandra, that was supposed to be Epstein, show it. And of course, sensitivity to frequency. We have the technology to see who was the programmer. So today, and the information is fragmented, is incomplete. It's just used to extortion. Extortion cults, it's affecting people's ability to have a happy family, affecting people's ability to have to date people, affecting people's ability to have job satisfaction. Okay, because if any job you have to be in an interface with the intelligence, and the intelligence is doing these things, then you're not happy with your job. It affects people enjoying having, housing and enjoying to live in a house. So basically, people become dissatisfied. And sick. And where is intelligence is supposed to serve the citizens of whatever entity it is in. If it doesn't do that, we need another chart. So let's take a look at the 1951 chart. And 1951 is when that 8 February. Maybe it has a better chart. Let's see. You see, because sexual sovereignty, it matters. It's not something you can just skip and justify. And they know what they're doing, so they will be held accountable unless they escape and they are then satanic ritual abuse survivors. But then they will, if they do those things, that they're not, okay, they will have to expose the entire system. So this chart has a stellium in Pisces. This is why we're talking about it. We are fractions of a second before a lunar eclipse, a total lunar eclipse on the axis of Pisces and Virgo. So Venus, Moon, 8 degrees Pisces next to Fomalhaut. This is not bad. Trine Uranus in Cancer, 5 degrees. Not terrible. Jupiter in Pisces. exalted Jupiter, fantastic, conjoining Mars. Hard aspect Jupiter-Mars can give religious wars. The conjoining, I don't know. Mars is, in Pisces is good for intelligence. Okay, it is Rahu 20 degrees Pisces, so they have a Rahu return. They had a Rahu return recently, and a lot of people were talking about the connection with Epstein and the Mossad. So they're going to have to purge that. They're going to have to stop doing pedo rings and sex trafficking as extortion cults. Like that's not intelligence. It doesn't defend anybody. When you send your child to school and your child is coming with the symbols of the hand gestures of the mafia because you don't know if they've been programmed or not with some MK Ultra dumbfuckery. Now MK Ultra is coming from the CIA, but if it caught up to Israel, then people are going to play the Mossad for not stopping that. Ketu, ruled by Mercury. Mercury 27 degree Capricorn. Mercury closer to Rahu. Sun 18 degrees Aquarius, so leaders can be toxic here. And again, Pluto 18 degrees Leo retrograde. I don't know why they kept it 18 degrees. Toxic psyops to the personality. That's like if MK Ultra tells me tomorrow that that the Mossad invented certain parts of those toxic psyops, narcissistic abuse. Narcissistic abuse is a result of satanic ritual. Because Sun is ruled by Saturn. Saturn in Libra. Saturn in Libra is exalted, but because of the toxicity. Neptune, Libra. Lot of fortune on the ascendant of Israel. Lot of fortune here is cannot be calculated because we don't have ascendant. It's also for the chart of Olson. But he had Chiron in Pisces, so that was still. So the delineation was still true. Lilith in Gemini. Children. Sexual sovereignty of children. Voila, this is Epstein ring. You see it in the chart. Children used underneath gloved hands. That's the deacon of Capricorn, underneath gloved hands. Chiron 29 degrees Sag, so problem with prediction. 29 degrees is prediction. Chiron is a problem with prediction, whereas Jupiter is in Pisces. It's a problem with the divination of children. Why? Because they're sexually abused. So the information is incomplete. Like this could get, for example, an intelligence operation to completely attack and annihilate a region that did not do anything bad. We removed the Houthis government in its entirety. How do we know that it's the Houthis? How do we know the Houthis are not mind controlled by some MK Ultra type? And then we removed the Houthis. Israel took the blame because some Epstein rapes children, and the children, they torture them. Then they to forget the information that the children say, we saw this, we saw that, we saw that, we saw that, we saw that. But it's fragmented because they've only, let's say they saw the government, I don't know, activating something. Fantastic. Who is underneath gloved hands? They can't see it if they're not. It's exactly what I said is going to happen in September. Is happening right now. Saturn, Neptune. Saturn ruling over Pluto and Aquarius. The signs of Neptune intelligence and espionage. We can't do intelligence with Leo. Leo is only what we can see. You know what is Leo from philosophy of science perspective? Now I'm big mad. There's the extortion cults as dumbfuckery, but it's also not working in favor of intelligence. Because, like even if they did extortion cults on something else, it's still not working because with Leo, how should I say it? Leo is what we can see. They claim to be seeing the invisible. Now, if they see the invisible, they see the people underneath gloved hands. Who's moving the Houthis? They so sovereign? Where are the children of Yemen? Where are the children that were tortured by Epstein? Some of them are US presidents. So, violating sexual sovereignty will never give intelligence, security, and national security. It will give the image of and it ruins reputation of entire Israel. Entire Israel. If people see Israel equals Mossad, and then they see Jews equals Mossad, equals Rothschild, equals Israel, equals Zionism. Now, when the Haredi Jews are doing satanic ritual abuse on children, are they wrong? It's also trading children, by the way. Children trafficked and traded. Now, from Leo, all my love to Leo. Leo is fantastic. Everything, whenever something is on Leo, it gives us a Me Too vibe. Okay, it's putting something in the light. But with Leo, we focus on what we can see. Leo is the juncture where there is technology. It shows us so that we are able to observe. We're able to observe. Okay, people that want to absorb vitamins cannot be sexually violating children. And they can't put it on the child. So if we want to observe a phenomena, technology translates the unobservable to what we can observe. So up until where the technology has reached, the Mossad can say it sees the invisible. And age of air, if age of air, you have to take into account nothing will be able to be invisible. Nothing will be able to be invisible. And so, when you think about intelligence, you say, but if we're doing a secret operation, you don't. There are no secret operations in the age of air. But if we confuse the information, fantastic, then people will destroy our technologies. Let's say somebody fired the gun, okay? You have no way to tell who fired the gun. What are you going to look for? Making it impossible for people to have guns. How are you going to do that? Explode ammunition. Explode ammunition. Wherever there is ammunition, explode that. But people hold that in homes. Then Bosch. In Israel, there are young children that rent weapon to whomever. What are you going to do? You're going to harm the children? No, you explode the weapon. So with Leo, we're not going to be able to see things. They do have a stellium in Pisces, but this toxic Pluto in Leo is ego. It's toxic ego that doesn't allow for... This is why we don't have the kidnapped people. I'm sorry. We have 7th of October. So many people were kidnapped. Even before that. Palantir sees it. Starlink sees it. VaultSafe sees it. And Palantir is CIA Mossad technology. Everybody knows where the kidnapped people went. If you drive in Road 6 in Israel, it's a paved road, okay? The cameras from the sky, the satellites, not the cameras on the road, the satellites can film your eyelids. They can give you an iridiology diagnosis. Iridiology is holistic medicine where you diagnose the problem. They can tell you if something wrong with your liver. They're gonna know. That's how accurate these technologies are. They know where Heinut is. They know where the kidnapped people are. Now, but this one is such a giant ego that doesn't allow people to actually do the right thing and get these children out instead of, I don't know, doing rituals on tenets. And they have what it takes. And see, this is the axis of Hamas, okay, Pisces and Virgo. So these are the guys that are supposed to have the intelligence to tackle Hamas. And it's Ra return, and they're going to have a lunar eclipse. This is why I'm doing this chart now. You see, and I didn't even know. I said there's going to be something with the intelligence. You can't run an intelligence on tortured children. Channeling wise, the science of channeling, fragmentation creates fragmented picture. It means you're attacking the wrong people, and the people underneath gloved hands keep doing the problems. Chiron 29 degrees is a wound around divination. People need to divine, they need to have a sense of embodiment. And there are toxic beliefs that are harming them from doing that. Pluto's Sun opposition gives us an even more polarizing ego. Sun toxic degree. Geertje Wilders, the Sun is next to his Saturn. I don't know if Wilders is a night chart or day chart. I mean, kind of do, but it's not something that I was told publicly, so I don't want to expose that. But still, with Saturn, 18 degrees. Sun, Saturn. I don't know. It's because for the Mossad is leaders. Saturn is structure. I have no idea. They had Ra and Peter are the Freeze Mars, which was ruling his moon, that was ruling his ascendant. Ketu is next to the lot of fortune of the 1800 chart of Netherlands. Yeah, but that's it. Folks with Pisces placements. Again, they did their chart in Pluto 18 degrees. Then when Pluto was going retrograde on that very degree, they became independent. So that's their declaration of independence. So very likely for 1951, it was an advanced chart. Israel needed an intelligence, an independent intelligence. It was way beyond what people very likely even expected. Fantastic. But now, this thing can, and this is important, but with the Mossad it's going to be more difficult because the CIA, let's say, had Mars, Gemini, and so on. They also had Pluto 18 degrees, no, they had Pluto Leo, but not 18 degrees Leo. I think so. And this one, they're going to have an ego problem to just have another chart that is not so toxic. Like, they need to do intelligence. And the problem here is basically the Mossad is ruining itself. And now, because they consider like the biggest intelligence and so on, but now they were exposed with Epstein, what it happens before the eclipse, the Ra return. It happened on the Ra return, actually. And Epstein is connected to the White House, at least to the White House. Was that true? I don't know. But this is, this is something that now, how can Israel do hasbara for that? And the political party that said put Zion in the Kalpi, and Zion is the letter, the seventh letter, and it's like an upside down penis, okay? And then the pictures of basically a penis on 7th of October. And that party wanted to close the ability, if people had a disability, they would have welfare. They wanted to close the welfare, not the welfare that kidnaps children, the welfare that gives disability to people. Disability fund. Disability, if a person has a disability, then that money keeps them from being a trafficker. Because it's not just about being trafficked. Epstein was also trafficked. They don't end there. And so, with the CIA and the Mossad, people say Israel and the United States are #1 human trafficking, and they say Israel is the heaven for pedophiles. And I said, well, it didn't make sense to me. How much pedophilia there is in Europe, how much pedophilia there is in Thailand. Their religious beliefs are contributing to pedophilia. People that look into theosophy and the practice of theosophy, they saw that. And I'm like, well, of course do we need to annihilate pedophilia, but it's like, you're taking Israel, and I'm like, it seems unreasonable. Now, when I see, whether it's reasonable or not reasonable, when I see this chart of Lilith in freaking Gemini, which is children, using trickery, so it's getting children to use trickery by not respecting sexual sovereignty, which means not letting children be children. And Mercury is on the deacon of gloved hands, so the children are doing crimes. But who is moving the children? As an adult. And it's also tied into the juristic system. So, and yes, it's axis of hospitals, particularly those that give treatment not only to the body. Now they are changing the hospitals in Israel to give treatment to body and psyche, and they would also need to change the Mossad, because otherwise we cannot. Otherwise, these hospitals are going to be subjected to be bombed, because if you do those things in hospitals and you violate patient sovereignty, then basically it's not a hospital, and that would be bombed like the death and concentration camp that it is. While people will be shouting Israel and so on. I had an essay about the use of psychiatry in India by the British Empire to establish a national identity in Britain, because the British they're screaming to have psychiatric hospitals like India. We remember what were the psychiatric hospitals. This is a country that only in the 80s allowed people to buy a dildo. All my love to Britain. Okay. Again, when it came to the French Revolution time, Voltaire escaped to Britain from France because it had more freedom of religion. But in modern times, only in the 80s, a person could buy a freaking dildo. It was considered something that they cannot. To traffic children, yes, okay, but to have sexual sovereignty. So this is how, okay, what is good for one time, 1949, 1951, people tended to other things. Okay, freedom for women was the right to vote. Okay, they were not even thinking so much maybe about rape because all the men died. And then there were women combatants. You see this Venus, Mars, Moon, Jupiter together all in Pisces. Later we had Moshe Zayan, okay, it was the guy that had this Illuminati strap on his eye and was an army commander, and he was rapist. Everybody knew that. And in Kibbutz Shomrat there was rape, ritual rape of a lady, Yael Greenberg, that died before or during the 7th of October. She did not manage to heal. Now, why did she not manage to heal? I know people that went through ritual rape, satanic abuse. They had to perpetuate satanic abuse by politicians. They escaped, and the minute the abuse stopped, they began to heal. So why did Yael Greenberg not manage to heal? Why did she die? The people that were the rapists, there were children there. They were doing that rape so that they can have business, like real estate. Do you know what in Vedic nutrition, the person that makes your food must do it in the best energy possible. So think about the person that builds your house. So again, I can't say that it's not an all bad chart. There are many good things going for this chart, but you can't do that with extortion calls of children or trafficked adults without sexual sovereignty. Information is just noise. The omens are so hidden with the noise that you're likely to strike the visible and not what is actually, and you're going to use gloved hand to do that, which makes it even more, you know. And there is an ego problem. There's a toxic ego problem. It was narcissistic. This related to a personality cult and experiments, human experiments. No, this one is personality cult. I can't say human experiments is more CIA, but this one can be with children because the children are working underneath gloved hands and traders. This is delineating Epstein almost. That's the Mossad. So back to today's chart. Again, what was good for back then, not good for now. Sol hour, Sol 9 degrees Virgo, first house, ascendant 24 on the Mars of the previous chart. Saturn in Pisces. Saturn going through, okay, the stellium of the Mossad and showing their global influence on the world. Okay, we cannot claim that people like Epstein, if they're related to the Mossad, then the claims about Israel being influential. Now, what is Israel? It's a list of corporations. Okay, Benjamin Netanyahu is at the mercy of the Mossad, basically. And we cannot claim that these guys don't have global effect. And when they operated from a toxic ego cult of personality, then people that globally that will have repercussions. And this is the Saturn in Pisces. They will have a failed operation. That's what's maybe they with the Yemenite government they already had. I'm not saying it was wrong to attack the government, I'm saying that they didn't get the people underneath gloved hands. And that is called failed operation. Yeah, the failed operation because they looked at the visible and they didn't tend to the invisible because they had a toxic ego. And this Epstein case, they're going to be leaked. It's going to be leaked. Jupiter 18 degrees. So karma, 2, toxic beliefs around mothers, fertility, people, housing, structures, infrastructure. Okay, I know what is going to be exposed. I cannot say that. I know that as an astrologer, I cannot say that. The Mossad is going to need a new chart. It's probably going to happen by their Uranus return, but the Mossad, or maybe not. But the Mossad is going to need a new chart. From this framework, they cannot satisfy the requirements of safety for citizens across the world. Like sometimes it's time to reassess things, and because they have this toxic ego, it's going to be a really challenging downfall for them. Really challenging. But it's going to be exposed globally. This endangers the existence of anything that relies on it, and it's not just the state of Israel.